afternoon, everyone. My name is Elisa Joseph, and I'm Vice President and Director of Programs for the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc. And so excited to have you join us today for this great conversation that we're going to have with Vontélle Eyewear. They are prior winners of the famous Amos Ingredients for Success Entrepreneur Initiative, and they've got some really great information to be able to share. They're also serving as judges this year. So this is really the time to, as you all are thinking about your applications, to listen intently, get really some key information from them and the kinds of things that they are looking for as they review your applications, but to really kind of give you tips and tricks as well to really help you in this process. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to be speaking with Tracy Vontélle Green and Nancey Flowers Harris. We want to learn from them in terms of their past experience, even their application experience, as well as gain insights from them as judges. And ultimately, we want you to walk away with some real insights on what it means to be a founder of a company like Vontélle Eyewear, what your application positioning strategies can be. We will spend some time in the application space, as well as any tactical guidance that they can give you as well as our team. So one of the other things we'll mention is that we'll take questions at the end. Please put them in the chat so that our team, which is comprised of Philip Dunn and Tiffany Eller, can capture those. And we will share those questions, probably 3 to 5 questions, as we get to the end of this conversation. And so with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. Vontélle is a luxury eyewear brand founded in 2020 by entrepreneurs Tracy Vontélle Green and Nancey Harris to address the lack of stylish, properly fitting eyewear designed for diverse faces and cultures. Inspired by African, Caribbean, and Latin prints, the company creates bespoke prescription and non-prescription eyewear that combines fashion, comfort, and cultural representation. Tracy Vontélle Green is the co-founder and CEO of Vontélle, overseeing the company's creative vision, financial strategy, and overall direction. A seasoned executive with extensive experience in public finance, healthcare administration, and strategic consulting, she has held leadership roles with the New York City Mayor's Office of Management and Budget, Accenture, New York City Human Resources Administration, and several major hospital systems, including New York City Health and Hospitals. Her expertise spans budgeting, financial management, grant development, and operational leadership. Nancey Flowers Harris is the co-founder and COO of Vontélle, leading operations, marketing, and product development. A veteran media and advertising executive, she has held senior sales and marketing roles at Viacom, Black Enterprise, and BET, where she successfully expanded multi-million-dollar advertising portfolios and drove strategic brand partnerships. Her expertise in revenue generation, cross-platform marketing, and business development has been instrumental in Vontelle's national growth and visibility. As the first Black woman-owned eyewear company to design a collection for America's best stores nationwide, Vontélle has achieved major industry milestones, including a licensing agreement with Nickelodeon and Paramount for a children's collection, and partnerships with Saks Fifth Avenue, Amazon, Walmart, Sam's Club, and VSP Vision Care. The brand also collaborated with actor Kadeem Hardison on a signature eyewear collection inspired by his iconic Dwayne Wayne character from A Different World. Beyond fashion, Vontélle is committed to vision equity and community impact, partnering with organizations such as Women in Need to provide free eye exams and prescription eyewear to underserved families. Please join me in welcoming Tracy Vontélle Green and Nancey Flowers Harris.
Wow, that was amazing.
Okay, see, you didn't even know. Look how amazing you are, right? Isn't it great to hear all your accomplishments and the things that you do? We don't spend a lot of time, giving ourselves flowers on those things. So I'm glad that we could give those to you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so we are not going to beat around the bush. We're going to just jump right into the conversation, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
All right, ladies, thank you so much. So we're going to talk, I'd love to start first with just talking about your origin story. What made you want to start Vontélle Eyewear? How did you identify that market gap? And how has that led to your success in the marketplace?
So I lost a pair of glasses. It was that easy. I lost a pair of glasses, a pair of the largest glasses. I would buy men's glasses because I have
Mhm.
kind of chubby cheeks. And you hate when you wear glasses. I have to wear my glasses. I've been wearing them since I was like in fifth grade. I need them to see. I can't wear contacts because my eyes are just dry. So I have to wear glasses. It's the only game in town. And when I lost them and they were the better fitting, and I went to another store to get a new pair, and they were all too tight and too small, what do you do when you're upset? You call your bestie. So I called Nancy to complain. And I always call her to complain. And I was like, the glasses are too small, they're too tight, yada, 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 want, want, want. I just kept complaining. And I said, glasses leave indentations on your cheeks and your nose, and it hurts. And then she was like, wow, you're right. My mom has these marks on her nose. And then she had lost a pair of glasses. And then I just hung up the phone and I just gave up and I was just going to buy whatever I saw on the street that almost fit. And I feel like 2 weeks later, Nancy said it was a month later, but 2 weeks later, she called me and said, we're going to Paris, France. And I'm like, what? And she said, there's an eyewear expo and we need to go and see if we can do this. And I'll let Nancy take it from there because she had the bright idea.
Yeah, so I started doing research like the moment we hung up the phone. And the thing that I felt was missing, in addition to the size, was we didn't see glasses that had pattern and prints that represented our culture. And I wanted to see more of that with what it is that we did. So I started going online, looked for glasses that had patterns and prints, adinkra, anything that mudcloth print, anything that said African print that represented the culture. And I started to find some nice glasses, but they were wrapped in cloth. And so no one actually had done, you see the pattern that Tracy has on right now. I believe that's a Carolina Shout.
The
And so,
block,
oh, those are the block by
Romeo
Romeo.
Bearden.
And so he's a renowned artist. We wanted things that represented our culture. And so those glasses right there represent the culture. We didn't see anything like that which existed. So even these glasses that we have right now represent a Divine Nine collective, right? This pair of glasses here are called Aurora. And on the front, they're plain, but on the side, it has the roses which represent Sigma Gamma Rho. I am not Sigma Gamma Rho, but I love these glasses to death. Doesn't matter. Anyone can wear them if you love the color scheme, because we do not put the insignia of the Divine Nine on the glasses themselves. We just kind of wanted to represent their culture and our culture. I'm a Delta. So those were the things missing. Found that out. Went to this event, 37,000 people in attendance, and only a handful. And when I say a handful, I mean maybe 20, 30 people that even look like us at that event. And that was our aha moment. We realized why glasses do not fit us properly. It's because no one that represents us are making glasses to fit our faces, whether you have a chubby cheeks, like Tracy said, you need a longer temple for your ear, or, whether you have a nose bridge like mine, which, I have barely a non-existent nose bridge, or even if you have a wider nose, glasses just don't fit our faces properly. And we're not a one size fits all, but we do have many glasses to select from to find something that would cater to your face.
And I'm gonna commiserate with you all a little bit because I'm a glasses girly, right? They're not on now because it's easier for me to read what I need to do because I'm nearsighted. And Sora, I need to see at some point the Delta ones. I
Yes.
absolutely need to see those
Oh,
Delta
they're here,
inspired
honey.
ones.
They are here. We have them. I'm just wearing purple today. I'm all over the
That's
place.
okay.
I'm
That
representing
that is
the
fine.
megas. I'm representing a little bit of everybody, but we do have beautiful glasses that you can, if this is something that you want. But I don't want to stay on this too long because I know people came on to hear about how it is that we can help them.
And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time there because the things that you identified, a lot of times when we identify a gap, it usually is something that is happening to us personally or with someone that we know. And you all were able to really take that marketing expertise that you had, Tracy, and really begin to delve a little bit more into those market spaces, right? And so I bring that up because every business is trying to find their niche, right? A lot of what we're talking about in terms of this grant in particular is really around, is your business, if you're in business, is it a cogent business idea? Does it resolve a niche problem that's going to allow you to grow your revenue? How did you get to those? So I think the storytelling behind it is always an interesting piece, because when we're looking at our applications, that is something we want to see. We want to understand the story, right? And understand how you got to where you are and what your next steps are for the future. And so as you think about your growth journey in this, what has that been like? I can imagine that, you're talking a few years ago as a startup company, brand new idea, no one thinking about it in the marketplace, having to find, manufacturers to be able to pull the glasses together, that all the designs you're thinking about, really trying to find designers in that space. So tell us a little bit about what that journey was.
So when we went to Paris, we met our manufacturers there. And we met a slew of them. But of course, we're Black and we're women. So half of them didn't even want to work with us. They kept saying, we can't redo the mold. Because again, we're focusing on the size. It has to fit a certain way. And glasses are made for Caucasian faces, right? And the mold is there, and they've been using the mold for hundreds of years. And why should they change it? But we did find one manufacturer who understood what we were saying, because even the glasses he had on was too tight for his face, right? So we're telling him, he's an Asian manufacturer. We're like, you're wearing glasses that are too tight for your face, but no one's complained, right? We just put, lotion on our face or whatever they tell us to do, extra nose pads, but it really was the size. So that was the first thing, getting a manufacturer to believe in our vision. Once we had the vision, I think Nancy and I, we still had our regular jobs at the time. So we were just kind of it was like a project. Let's see if we can do this. So it was more like, all right, we get the manufacturer, we make some designs. We were doing everything on PowerPoint and drawing things out and cut and pasting, because we don't know how to use AutoCAD, but we knew what we wanted to see. We wanted kente cloth. We wanted the Ankara prints, like she said. So we ships, we make all these designs with our manufacturer, and then COVID happens. So we could not fly, we could not go. Thank God for WhatsApp. We did everything over WhatsApp. And the process really became us focusing on the size and the colors, like Nancy said. And once we figured that out, that's what we really wanted. We just kept going. And, he would ship us samples. We would say, tweak this, tweak that. And we had a mission. Our mission was like, I wanted better fitting glasses. I mean, I need my glasses. So that was the mission. And then once we started talking to our friends, and, my husband had to wear glasses, and my son, who's like 6'4" now, he couldn't find glasses to fit. So by looking at these people around us, we said, all right, this is an issue for everyone. And once we started focusing on that issue, it kind of just catapulted us to where we are today, because no one was talking about size. No one was saying that you wear your glasses and it gives you a headache. Nobody was saying, oh, you have these indentations on your nose or your cheeks. That's why they hurt. We were giving education. And by giving education to the masses, more people started to come to our website and purchase from us. And we had different look. I mean, our glasses didn't look like anything else. So, and that's the years we were in Zoom, right? Everybody was home. So everyone was in a little box, and all you could see is their face. So everybody wanted funky glasses. And we did blue light. Again, we are the queens of the pivot. We saw there was an issue. We added masks to match our glasses. So whatever pattern the glasses had, we did a mask to match. We called it full face, hashtag full face fashion. We used that as a marketing tool that brought more people to our site. So we were really looking at what was happening in the market and what was happening at the time it was COVID. And we did all those things at the same time.
And Tracy, just building on that, let's talk a little bit about the expansion of it too, right? So, you're starting in COVID. You have somewhat of a captive audience because all of us are on Zoom, right? But it's not like being out in the marketplace because we were so confined. Talk about what it meant for you all to think about what expansion would mean. Think about where you were going to get capital to be able to do that.
So One of the good things that happened to us very early on is that we were able to get a license for Nickelodeon. And unbeknownst to us, we knew what licensing was. We didn't know what the whole thing encapsulated at the
Mhm.
time. So we took this opportunity without realizing that we needed money to fund it. And that is what led us to Famous Amos. Tracy and I
Right.
started applying to grants and things like that. But one of the things that helped us grow is that we did do the try on piece at home so that you could try it on in the comfort of your home.
Mhm.
So that was one of the big things that we did, and it didn't cost us a whole lot of money. It was an investment, but it wasn't huge. But it also helped people to be at home and to sit there and do the try on while you're at home, right? It was one of the
Virtually.
easy, the virtual try on, right? So people were able to virtually try on our glasses, and then like Tracy said, we started off just D2C, doing direct to consumer sales without
Mhm.
realizing that if people were trapped at home, but they were still going to doctors' offices. And
Right.
so we had to start reaching out to doctors' offices. And fortunately, someone reached out to us first and she taught us the ropes about how wholesale worked, working with doctors and things like that. So one of the key things is getting mentors in the industry that can help you grow your business because
Mhm.
you don't know everything. You have to join chambers of commerces. So your USBCs are so important to have and to be a part of. If you don't have a local chamber, and even so, you should still try to join your local chamber. Also, going to trade shows that are in your industry. How else are you going to know what's happening in your world if you are absent from being a participant? So that's also very key. Then you should also, in addition to the trade shows and finding mentors, but taking courses that can help advance you. So joining the cohorts, those cohorts are so important for you to know what's happening, the accelerator programs. You
Mhm.
need to be in the know. Tracy and I, between the two of us, have joined about 10 cohorts apiece. And we used to try to tackle them together, but when we realized it was just too much on our plate, we stopped and we went separate ways and we come back into one and we take the best of both worlds of everything that we've learned and then we add it to our business to continue growing. You have to continue to grow. You may start off as a one-man team, but you have to have the vision of being a company that is a multiple person machine. And even though we're still very small from the outside in, we are not as large as people think that we are. But guess what? We're going to be the little engine that could, but look like the big engine that is.
I totally get that. I think what's really interesting. So I think a week before we talked about this session, I was on TikTok, and this is how things kind of come together. Kind of God working behind the scenes. You don't really know it. And who comes up but Joy Reid? She gave you all like an advertisement you did not pay for. I don't know if you even knew it, but she literally pulled
Those
out your
glasses.
glasses and put
Yes.
them on and told everybody where she got them from, right? And so I do want to talk about your journey in this space. You're a consumer products goods company. You're providing a significant need to people across the nation, but you've got some really interesting partnerships as well. Talk about how those kind of came to you, even in the midst of your application, to Famous Amos, and then winning that grant award to, for my assumption, being able to fund things like your internet pieces and your marketing pieces and the manufacturing that you're doing. Talk a little bit about what that journey has been with having these endorsements behind you.
It's amazing to have these endorsements, but I think there's two key things. We are not afraid to ask. Early on in our journey, I remember when we first started, we reached out to the women who ran the skim, and we said, "Would you do an ad for us on your platform? We're a Black-owned company, we're new." And she said, "We would do it for you for free, Black History Month." That one month, we got over 14,000 hits to our website.
Mhm.
So after that, we just kept the momentum. We asked for everything. What's the worst thing that can happen? They can say no. And we don't take no for an answer. We take no as not right now. So
Right.
literally, we reach out to everybody. And we're not afraid to say, hey, we notice you wear glasses. We would love to partner with you. If you think it'll be a great thing, we'll send you some to try on. And we've done that with just about everyone. And then some people reached out to us. So we were lucky enough that Kadeem reached out to us because he wanted a company that went to a black college. We
Kadeem
went to Morgan
Hardison.
State, HBCU. We went to
Okay.
Morgan State
My
University.
sister went to Morgan State. Okay.
Cool. He wanted a black owned brand and he was intentional that he wanted to work with a black owned brand. So we fit, and we were from Brooklyn and he was
Mhm.
originally from Brooklyn. So we
Yeah.
fit all the things. And he said, I want you guys to help us.
That,
So
that,
the partnerships are really important because they give us a microphone, right? Because we're
Mhm.
doing great work. We make beautiful glasses. And yes, we make plain black glasses because everybody wants to know we make plain black glasses too. But in order for people to know that we exist, the internet is so vast, it's so big. People have so many options to pick from. Joy Reid, Kadeem Hardison, Queen Latifah wore us on her show, The Equalizer. We got Marcus Samuelson wearing it on Harlem Eat Up. I mean, we have so many people wearing the glasses, and that's just because we ask, we reach out, we make connections with people. Stylists are your best friends. You can't always get the artists. And we just keep asking until, we get there. Joy was lucky because of another friend of ours. We were partnering with Shop Red Bag, and her name
Mhm.
is Candy Carter and she worked with Joy. So she's like, hey, let's do this together. We want to bring more people to her platform, which is a platform for women, veterans, LGBTQ. They sell all black owned, they sell products for everyone. They sell our glasses on Shop Red Bag. They also
Mhm.
wanted to bring some light, and she connected us with Joy, and it's been amazing. So, your network is your net worth. You have friends to the left and to the right of you. Don't always try to go up. Literally, all our friends we call and we beg and say, remember in college when I held your head when you were throwing up? You owe me. Hook me up with this person. And they do it. And, Nancy will even say she had a friend who worked at Saks. That's how we got Saks. So we made sure we use our community. Everyone knows somebody. Use them.
yeah.
And
And I
Nancy,
want to add this
yeah,
part
okay.
right here. What Tracy was saying, left and to the right, and the person that I knew at Saks, it was a gentleman that I used to work with at Black Enterprise. I knew his girlfriend worked at Saks, so I didn't even know his girlfriend. I still don't know his girlfriend, but he believed in what we were doing enough to make an introduction via email. And she and I started corresponding that way. But I've never met this woman in person. I've spoken to her over the phone, but I've not met her in person. I would hug her when I do have the opportunity, but just don't be afraid to ask. We have all, Tracy and I have said the other day when we looked around us, we are 6 degrees truly of separation from anybody that we want to touch.
And
So
so
make
building
sure
on
you
that, building on that, Nancy, what was the moment that you knew Vontélle could scale nationally? And how did the famous Amos program, winning that, help you um, influence the trajectory that you were on?
well, the fact that Famous Amos selected us was huge in itself. Like that was our first major, we had won some small grants, but that right there put us over the top. And to get the Nickelodeon license, that was one of the first things that let Tracy and I know that we had the ability to scale. The fact that
Mhm.
Paramount, that owns Nickelodeon, would look at our brand and say, we want you ladies to represent our brand, which is a international brand. So now we have international awareness because of
Mhm.
Nickelodeon. Ain't no stopping us now once we got on that boat right there, right? We just
Absolutely.
said, okay, we are gonna keep this going. And then not too much long after, a year, probably about a year later, Kadeem Hardison, they dropped in our DMs and we were like, is this real? I called Tracy and she was like, hey, respond, girl. They reached out, respond. So always respond because you just never know. Now, some things are going to be fraud. You can pick those up immediately. But if there's real legs on something, keep it going because you just don't know what doors it's going to lead to. And not everything will lead to a door immediately. Sometimes Tracy and I do things because we know down the line it will create brand awareness and help us explore even larger. So we knew with the Nickelodeon license, with the fact that Kadeem Hardison sought us out personally, like Tracy said, we checked every box that he was looking for. Um, we had even Arlen Hamilton, who is a VC out there. She reached out to us to do a project. We knew that once these things started happening, that we were on the trajectory for nothing more than success. That's the only thing, no matter how rock bottom things can get, and sometimes it can get there with within a small business. We're not going to act like we know everything, but you keep climbing because everything that we've done so far has been out of our pockets directly, right? So, and then also with the grants and things like that, that has helped to supplement. But get out there, go to these trade shows, go to your Essence festivals and get your booths, go to your, any place that you can get some brand awareness, get out there and do it because that is going to help you scale your brand. Just sitting behind a desk and making calls all day and nobody gets to see the beauty of your work, that's just not enough. It will never be enough.
Right.
Use everything you have within your wherewithal.
So for both of you, I wanted the audience to hear about your company, to understand your journey. And you really are one of 15 businesses that have won the famous Amos Grant, right, over the past 5 or 6 years, right? And so would love for you to, as you think back to your experience, and also as you're thinking about judging, because you're judging now, but you've judged in the past as well. Give me your thoughts on what you think makes a strong application.
I would say know your why. What are you doing and why you're doing it, right? And it could be for any reason, but you just got to be strong with it. I make product X because this is what my community is asking for. They are telling us, like us, we made glasses that fit better because so many people were having lines and indentations on their nose. That's it. Be focused, be concrete, because I think when you add a lot of extra, it gets lost. You don't want to say, yeah, I do this and I do this and I comb hair and I and I do this too. I mean, you could do 10 businesses and that's great. And I know a lot of us do. We have 5 hustles going on at the same time. But for your famous Amos application, focus on one, the one that you need the money for and why you're doing it, and really hone in on that. And I think when Nancy and I did our pitch, and it wasn't glossy, I tell everybody, think of a reel, right? Everyone knows how to put together a reel on Instagram, right? You put some pictures, you put a little bit of video, it's you talking about yourself, it's maybe some of your community talking about your product. Basically, you're putting together a reel for your famous Amos application. So if you can do it on IG, you can do it for your application, but just make sure it talks about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and that makes it successful, right? And what you're going to use the money for. And when we did ours, we were like, hey, we got this opportunity to do Nickelodeon. We needed the money. So we actually told you what we were going to use the funds for. So that's important when you're doing your reel, right? Because your pitch is your reel, right? So I try to make it that easy for everyone because I think everyone knows how to put together a reel, right? So just think of it as the same way. Your pitch is what you want people to see, the judges, about your company and what you're going to use the money for, why, and how you're going to put it together.
And Nancy, can you talk about what strikes you as impact in an application? And I want to go back to something that Tracy said, because the application itself, there are parameters around the amount of characters that you're using for your narrative, the time length of the video, right? And those things have to be adhered to. But if all those things are making sense, what sort of things do you see show real impact when you're evaluating an application?
So personally, for me, it's establishing credibility for your business, showing traction early on, what your company has done so far. Talk about your customers, partnerships that you're getting. As Tracy said, we talked about our Nickelodeon partnership, press that you may have gained, those for me and connecting to impact, like who benefits if your business continues to grow,
Mhm.
right? So how are you helping the community? How are you helping your customers? Tracy always says this, and I love it, right? She talks about um Bombas socks.
Mhm.
It's not new,
Mhm.
right? He just created some socks that don't have a seam. And did the seam really bother you before that? But guess what? This man is a multi-billionaire. Even the guy with the shirts,
Untuck it.
that untuck it, right?
Mhm.
And I got to meet the untuck it guy. I sat next to him at an event, and I just was like, how? Like
Right.
he got a shirt and he was like, listen, us guys he said he had friends that, their stomach hung over. They had, what we call a fupa.
Mhm.
And for the men and they just didn't want to tuck their shirts in anymore. They were tired of tucking the shirts because it didn't look sexy.
Mhm.
That's his why. The shirts didn't look for men. They didn't want to have shirts that went in and showed the fupa, so they
Mhm.
decided that was going to be it. So those are the things that I'm looking for, that we are looking for, because Tracy and I often, we don't see the same things, and then she'll point it out to me, and I'll point it out to her with our notes, and then we'll collaborate.
Mhm.
So those are really important things. We need to understand who it is that you're serving and what it is and how you see this business growing as a trajectory.
Mhm.
Also like Canva, they couldn't get financial backing. How could Canva not get financial backing to begin
Mhm.
with? And of course, same with like the Ubers of the world and things like that. So just think of how your brand is going to be that next big unicorn.
Mhm. And one of the things I think is always important, I want to spend a little bit more time on this for those folks who are thinking about applying in the application space itself, because just to let you all know, before it ever gets to Vontélle to review, it is coming through our team at USBC. And so we are siphoning, last year we siphoned through 4,000 applications. And what's really important is you've got to stand out in some way. You got to differentiate yourself. Um, you have to be able to tell a good story, but you've got to stay with, to your point, Tracy, your why, but also what the application is asking for.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that as you look at applications. What have you seen in terms of how founders have been able to have themselves stand out? What metrics might they be using in their storytelling, or in just being able to be clear about this money is going to be for X, Y, and Z, and the dollar amounts around it are for this, this, and this, because this is where I want to go. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're pitching your business, and again, you have to follow all the parameters. So it's a lot to get in a short time frame, right?
Mhm.
But, you know, everything is building on the next thought. That's the best way I can say it, is like your why is really your story, right? It could be, I have, a rare disease, and this disease has started me to do this, right? You're still telling your story, but you're not
Mhm.
going in too far into the story because you still have to do all the other things, right? So I know I think some people get caught up too much, and they want to tell a story about their grandparents and their father. Don't go that depth. We just want, for the video, you want to say, hey, this happened to me, and once this happened to me, it opened my eyes, and now I decide. So you're telling your story, and that's your why at the same time. You don't want to make it too long and too drawn out, because you gotta get to all the things. You gotta talk about your customer, like Nancy said. You gotta talk about your why you're using the money, who you're serving. So there's so many things that you have to get into this video. And then you want graphics behind it, like how we have our little graphics up now, right? You want to make sure you have your logo showing in your pitch, in your video, right? Because sometimes people just start talking, and I'm like, what are they selling? I don't even know what they're selling. So make sure you explain. You have your logo. We have our logo on the back behind our heads. We sell eyewear. You can tell that. Make sure in your pitch you have something there that's always showing what you're talking about, right? I sell this. This is my product, and this is why I do my product. And you have visuals that show that. Doesn't have to be a brand new, a professionally paid video, but again, your pitch is your reel, like I said. So if you're able to put together pictures, customer feedback, some testimonies, and you're putting it all together, then you have a real robust application. And that's what we're looking for. We want to know what you sell. I need to understand what you're selling in the first sentence, right? In the first two or three sentences, maybe, because you're telling your story and then you're going right into it. But if it's, you know, at minute 10 or 15 or 20, you lost us. So, and you can reiterate it, right? I don't want people to be afraid. You know, you start out saying, "Hey, we, I lost a pair of glasses. I was frustrated by it, and now we started to make beautiful glasses that are size inclusive." And then you talk about your, something else, and then you go back in to say, "And the reason why we're doing this because we need to make glasses with wider nose bridges." You still go back to your thing, but throughout your whole pitch, you're making sure people understand what you sell. So they didn't hear it in the first few seconds, they heard it in the middle, and they heard it at the end. So you got to get it in there. It's kind of how you weave your story together to talk about your product or your service and how you're helping people. So that's what we're looking for. I hope that helps.
Helps a lot. Go ahead, Nancy, if you wanted to add anything.
No. I was
Yeah.
just saying it was really good.
Yeah, and I think for us, as sort of the first round of judges, everything you've talked about are the things that we look for to make sure we're getting you the right applications to review. The other thing, and before we move to questions, the other thing that I'd like to tell people is to utilize tools. I think what's interesting is that if we look back 5 years ago, we don't even have the amount of tools that we have now 5 years ago, right? So Canva was like in its infancy, if you think about it, right? It was just kind of really coming on the scene, right? There are tools that we can use where it helps you put your best foot forward without necessarily having to have any expense around it. Helps you be able to, solidify your words. We really do focus on the number of characters and the number of words that are in there, so that talk a little bit about how you may have leveraged those tools in order to help you do that. Like, technology in these spaces is our friend sometimes in trying to get through an application process such as this.
Well, you just mentioned Canva. That can be your best friend, or even if you learn how to use like CapCut nowadays, you can also use that. Those are tools that you can easily use. You can put your video into a really good Chat GPT even and have it edit it for you if you really are savvy enough. But if you're not, you can use your phone. You don't need a whole background. Tracy and I did our video in like an office, and then we went outside, and then she started jumping on the rocks. Like it was so funny. I'm looking at her doing while we were videotaping this, and she's like sitting on the rocks and kicking her feet, and I'm looking like, this is my nutty best friend. But we had fun with it, right? And then we put it all together, and we did have someone edit it for us, but it was just somebody who edits on the side, who just said that he would help us out and do it, right? Our photographer. So the thing is, I really want to make sure that we stay in tune with that your video follows a simple flow, right? You should have what your problem is. You want to mention that, because I see in the chat that people are asking what they should do and how they should do it. You want to add your problem. You want to talk about that. You want to talk about what your solution is. As I mentioned before, you want to talk about the credibility of your brand and how you got there and why it's going to sustain you, and then how it's going to impact. Who are you serving? Are you serving the community? Are you serving, families? Are you serving larger industries? And then you're going to talk about your ask. You want to make sure you include that ask at the end. That is so important and very, very key. So tie all those things in there. People are asking, should I put, my team in there? If you want to put your team in there in a quick, snapshot, hold up a picture, here's my team. And then you keep it moving. But your team, you want to say, yeah, I'm doing this with my team. You can mention them, but no, it's not necessary to include everyone unless everyone is really as functional as they, as they need to be in that video. But the video was really about what your company is doing and how it's being impacted.
Yep. Well,
Yep.
with that, we're going to move to the questions since you're looking at the chat.
Mm.
Phil and Tiffany are going to pull a few of the questions that they see there, and they will ask those out to you.
Yes, we are. Lisa, Tracy, Nancy, this has been very helpful and insightful. We have a number of questions that have come through the chat. Our first question comes to us from Jennifer Jackie Johnson of Well Miss out of the great state of Georgia. And the question is about the application itself. Based on what you shared on your story, how much of it went into the tiny 250 word overview and your 90 to 120-second video?
Let's see. I actually, because ChatGPT wasn't the thing at that point,
Wasn't
right?
there,
So
right?
I
You
actually
use
wrote
Word.
that
You
and
use
I
Word.
used
Word
Word and
counts
I
your,
cut it
yeah.
and I did my word count, right? But then I
There you
also
go.
wanted to make sure that I was touching on every one of those things. If you cannot say your elevator pitch in 2 to 3 sentences, then you are not going to get where you need to be, right? Because you don't know if you're going to be in an elevator with Magic Johnson and he has some interest in you or something like that, right? So know what it is that you're going to say in 2 to 3 sentences, and then that extra is where you get to elaborate.
Right.
And I will say to that, we use, when we're reviewing applications, just so everyone knows, we do use word count to see what's there. And I know a lot of times people think that, well, they're not going to really mind if I go. We mind
Yeah.
because there are criteria around this, and it is really important to stick to the criteria.
Follow instructions. That is so key. We see a lot of people that do not know how to heed to instruction, and that is how you end up not winning.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
really it.
You automatically get kicked off because you didn't follow the rules. So yes, definitely whatever. If they say 100 words, only 100, not 101. If they say 2 second video or a 60-second video, don't do a minute over or a second over. Cut it.
Right.
You don't need your team. Cut it out. It's like, and we do the same thing. We started out with maybe, much longer and then we
Oh
cut
my
it
God.
down. We cut it
That
down. We like,
video, yeah. To Tracy's point, that video was it was probably a full 2 minutes.
yeah, we cut it
Right?
down.
And we
And
cut
you
it
cut it
down.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what that means is I call that the need to have preparation going into this. The great new thing about the application itself is that you can do the beginning pieces and get it started, but you also have time before you submit the full application to refine your narrative, refine your video, insert your headshot, all those things. So it doesn't have to be done the same day. It's got to be done before June 1st, but it doesn't have to be done the same day because you do have the opportunity to go back into it if you need to before you've hit that final submit button. Once you hit that submit button, then that your application is in and you can't make any changes to it. Phil, you have another question?
We do, and June 1st is right around the corner. Also, about the rules, our colleague Ashley is also dropping in some rules into the chat. So we want to make sure that you all save the chat at the end of this webinar. So make sure to save the chat, pay attention to those rules. This next question comes to us from Sandra Gilliard of Femininely Free out of the great state of Pennsylvania. And her question, you all sell a product, but does the strategy that you all have presented, would it also work for service-based businesses?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the same process. You're an accountant or you started an accounting business because you realize Black-owned businesses don't know how to do their financials. And that's a real important business because we all have a hard time at the beginning. Luckily, I have a finance background. But yes, you provide a service and your service is helping businesses like ourselves do their financials so they can get funding, right? You can't get an SBA loan unless you have a grant. I mean, you have accounting and financials, so you can talk about your services and how your services is helping businesses get SBA loans or helping them do their financials so they can get funding. You can't even get a venture capital to fund you without financials. So if you're a service, you will talk about it that way. I'm just giving you an example of how you can talk about your service as an accounting company and or it could be a babysitting service or it could be any type of service, but you talk about who you're servicing, how the outcomes are, who the people are, who's your community, the same stuff. what they do, how it helps them, how does it make their life better, and how are you going to use the funds from Famous Amos if you won because you need to do XYZ to get more clients or to be able to hire someone to help you. You're a psychotherapist and you do mental health services. And in order to see more clients, you need another mental health services. This funding will help you do that. And you can see 100 more clients a month if you had two more psychotherapists, helping. So that's a service, but it's still an important service. I hope
Yeah.
that helps.
Oh, absolutely. Products and services are eligible. Please read the rules in terms of what may not be eligible. Nonprofits, for instance, are not eligible. Typically, I'm going to call them sort of sin industries, are not eligible. So just sort of read the rules and regs, and take time to go through the website. There's lots of really great information in there. The judges have additional video content in there as well that will really help you in the application process. Phil?
All right. And this next question, again, coming from Jennifer Jackie Johnson, Tracy was kicking rocks in y'all's video. Should I show a slide of my team in the 90 to 120-second video? What about making it in the form of a pitch, like a traditional pitch you show investors? Would that help?
I think at the end of the day, you have to still talk about your business. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's, the team is important to show, but the team is not what's driving the application, right? You got to have the right balance in these things. And so, yeah, I think it's great to throw up a slide of, you've got this kind of support. Your business has these people who provide a certain level of expertise to the work that you're doing, but you don't have to dwell on each individual person.
Right.
Yeah.
That you only have
Story.
up to 120 seconds
Right.
for your video.
90
So
seconds.
you really got to stick to the main points of what the application, what's outlined in the rules and regs, what's outlined in the application and the website itself to really get your point across. So I think we love a sense of variety, I think, but at the end of the day, you're a business that's trying to sustain itself, and here's why you need the money to do that.
And
Yeah,
don't
I
get
think just
stuck
to
in
add,
minutia.
yeah, I was gonna say just to add the kicking on the rocks again. So it's more of to make our video stand out. So yeah, let's say you're in a conference room with your team. You could show you guys passing documents to each other. So for me, it was more of how can we stand out and look different, right? So we showed us talking about our glasses. We showed us walking down in the office. We're looking at the glasses. Then we're outside in the street. We're just moving around, but we're talking about is a voiceover while I'm kicking the rocks. So if you're in an office with your team, they could be seen but you're saying, hey, we work with a great team who helps us get to the next level. So you show the team, but you're still talking about your business. So I think it's kind of how you rope it all in. It's kind of, you get what I'm saying? It's like you want to say, my team has helped us grow. As of today, we are in 10 stores, right? And then you show the team, but you're talking about how you got to 10 stores.
Yep.
Right. So that's kind of how we use the kicking on the rocks. We were saying,
Right.
oh, now we are in, Saks, we were in this, we're in that. And I'm dancing because I'm happy on the rock because I'm in Saks. But
Yeah,
so you
the
see the
rock
visual.
kicking,
Right.
the
So
rock
you
kicking
see
wasn't
the
superfluous. It had
visual.
a purpose.
Right. So I just want to make sure they understand. You see the visual of me on the rock and I'm happy, but you hear we're now in Saks, we're in this many stores. We sell to the Caribbean, we sell here, and that's what you were hearing while I was kicking the rock. So use your team, but be talking about how this team has gotten you to X amount of stores, X amount of placements, X amount of customers. So that's how you visually show your team, but then they hear what your team has done. I hope
Yep.
that's a little bit more clarity on understanding how to make the video look fun and as well as talk about your stuff.
Yeah, and the video, is it available still for people to see? Is it on the site still or not?
I think the videos are on the site
Yeah, so go to
for
the
folks
site
to look at. Yeah.
and check out all the videos of the winners, so that you can get an idea of what worked and what put all of those companies over so that they could win.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Ashley just shared it in the chat as well. So this next question comes to us from Terry French, and Terry is with Alpha Page. 60% of internet traffic has moved to AI and large language models like ChatGPT. What solutions are Black-owned businesses today implementing in order to show up in some of the AI answers for the application?
I'm going to speak to it from someone who looks at it from the viewpoint of preliminary review. So do not use ChatGPT to talk about your business. You should have written about your business, and ChatGPT is a tool to refine what it is that you're saying.
Yep.
So that, Tracy and Nancy were talking about earlier how they use Word, and they did various versions over and over and over again in Word to not only get to the word count, but to get to the points that they were trying to make that were meeting the requirements of the grant. We use those tools as an ability to project our voice, not to sell our business, right? So I think I don't want to have an artificial voice telling us a story about you. I want to have you telling your story about your company.
We didn't have the luxury, as a lot of people today are using ChatGPT, but to use it to polish your work is one thing, but you have to define what your business is. You work that business day to day, so tell your story. That's it. Just tell your story. Be very raw and honest about it, and polish it.
And polish it, absolutely. We're going to take one more question before we go back to the slide presentation and give you all some additional information.
Perfect. This last question comes to us from Vanessa Brunt with Brunt Home Health LLC out of North Carolina. And her question is, how can I introduce my patented product that has few competitors that people aren't familiar with? Is it safe to apply to this program with my patented product?
So I'm going to try to take this, but we're probably going to need some more definition. You're probably going to have to send us an email offline. So yes, these applications are kept private. The only time that we even talk about those who have applied are those who have won. And even in that, we're not sharing applications. So we do not place your application out in the broader, internet field and scope for people to see who you are, what your idea is, what you have, to be able to really take any intellectual property. So I will start with that. I don't know if you ladies want to add anything else to that. And hopefully that answers your question.
I think that they just have to say patent pending, right? You don't have to say all the details because again, a patent is so detailed that we have patent pending for one of our frames. So we know how detailed it is. You're not going to get into that in your video or in your word count because you have a little bit, but you can say my business is doing great. We have X amount of customers. We even have a patent pending for one of our, modules that will make this amazing in another 2 years. And that's it. So that the judges know that, wow, you're doing something so big that you have a patent pending is going to make us want to know more. So you don't say all the details, but you do say your patent pending. And if you already had a patent, if you received it, say, hey, we received our first patent, in 2025. And now we are growing to X amount. So this is how you still get it in to your written and as well as your video, but you don't say all the details of what the patent is. So that's kind of how it keeps it secure and no one really knows what's happening. So either you received your patent or it's patent pending, and then you mention it in like one sentence like I just did, and you keep going. Because the more we want to know gets you to the next level. That's another secret. You don't want to give everything, but you want to give enough juice that we're like, wow, what is this company doing?
What's this one nugget? What does this mean? Right.
This company, we need to know more. And that's how a lot of companies move to the next level because you want to understand more of what they're doing.
And then moving to that next level, the application process is a little bit different in that there's a whole nother sort of narrative essay that goes along with that. But we want to make sure that you've got this part down first so that you're ready for the other piece as well. But I just do want to lay your fears that we do not, we've done this now for 4 years with Famous Amos. We have never released anybody's application information for privacy concerns. And it's not for the general public. There's no need for us to do that.
Yeah.
So I want to first thank our judges, Vontélle Eyewear, Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Nancy, for just an illuminating conversation. So much fun. I just found a new Sarah. My heart's going out to you on that. And there's lots of things that as we talk through, and one of the great pieces about working with our judges as for USBCs, we kind of get to form these offline relationships with them as well. And so it's always just a joy and a pleasure to hear from you. And thank you so much for the tips and the tricks that you've provided to everyone here today. I am going to give you an opportunity to say something in closing, and then we will share critical dates for folks. So if you got one last little piece of advice or info you want to share, now's your time.
I think what Nancy said, go to the website and look at all the other videos of people that won. That's your best way to see how people, the winners won and what they put together. That would be the most helpful. Use your tools, the word, word's going to count for you. So, and like I said, follow instructions to the T. If you got to take out a couple ands and it's to get your word down, you just do it, right? That you don't have to explain every single thing. So just know that's important because your goal is to get a great story going and get into the next level, so that the judges can say, oh, we're going to pass them on. So that's the best thing I can offer. You all are doing great things. You know your job, you know your business. Just tell your story. Be honest and tell your story and just get it out there.
Yep. So Tracy, everything that Tracy just said, we're always on the same page with stuff like that. Focus on the one story. Do not try to say everything. If your company does 3 different things, focus on the one that's the most successful and most impactful, because we know that you guys, we love to multitask. Tropicana makes apple juice,
orange juice,
cranberry juice, orange
cranberry
juice,
juice.
all types of juice, right? They primarily focus on their signature orange juice, right? So talk about the item that will move your brand ahead, and the rest will follow. Trust your story. You know it better than we do. We don't know it. So you're educating us, and tell us why you should be the winner.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. That's right. Tell us why we should be selecting you.
Why we want you to be, to win. Loop us in. We want to help you win. That's our job, is to look for the best person who should be getting that grand prize. That's it.
Thank you, ladies. I so appreciate your time. And as we close, I just want to let you all give you some key dates. June 1st, our application window officially closes. It does close at 11:59 Pacific Daylight Time. There are no deadlines. There are no late submissions or extension of deadlines. That is the deadline. Then around June 23rd, we will notify the 10 selected finalists that are going to be moving to the next round. And that's when Vontélle Eyewear will get their marching orders and be able to review those applications. And then somewhere around July 27th will be the formal announcement of the 3 $50,000 winners. And so if you have any questions, please email us at programs@usblackchambers.org. That QR code is there for you to go directly to the application. And we're just really excited to be working with you. I think we also have a couple other things. Tiffany, let me know if there's anything else. Yeah, here we go. One of the things at USBC that was important to us is that we have a platform, a directory, as well as a certification program that's entitled By Black. And there were times where we had corporate partners tell us they could not find Black-owned businesses. And we said, well, we know where they are. And that shouldn't be an excuse anymore. And so we created By Black to solve that problem. And we also created our own national certification that's exclusively for Black-owned businesses. So please take advantage of these things, these opportunities as well. We also offer resource desk office hours every Friday This is really the platform for you all to tell us what you need. We try not to be talking heads in that space. We want to hear the kinds of things that you need from us, and we try to connect you with the resources that we have. It's also a great time to talk to other businesses. And from a peer networking perspective, it works really well because we always find that somebody's got a solution to something or somebody's been through something. They're able to share stories. And that's really an important factor of you being able to grow your business. We have a new program, a growth accelerator, that's going to be starting in August for companies that are $100,000 or more in annual revenue, and that are consumer products, goods, services. So this is not for companies. This is not for service companies. This is really for those who make products. The QR code there, if you're interested in applying to our accelerator program, we'd love to have you. And it's across food and beverage, beauty, wellness, apparel, accessories, gift, and other CPG types of products. So,
and we will be applying for that too. So thank you, Lisa.
And so
we are still applicants.
And it's always out there. That's right. There's always, it's always good if you're able to get what I'll call cheap capital. You should go after that. And then for I think our final slide. It's just thank you. We just thank you all for being here. We encourage you to follow us on social media. If you're signed up for our newsletter, there's tons of webinars that we offer, lots of training opportunities. And we're just excited to have you join us today, have you hear from our judges and our prior winners of the famous Amos Ingredients for Success, Entrepreneurs Initiative. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us. If you do have questions, again, programs@usblackchambers.org. And we just wish you the best of luck in this process. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.